They told me the job would be easy, just watch the monitors, write down what I see, and follow the rules taped to the desk. The rules were typed in a pale font, barely visible under the flickering light above. I remember each rule because I memorized them out of fear, not duty. Rule number 1, never look directly at the camera in hallway 4 after 2:13 a.m. Rule number 2, if you hear knocking on the north exit door, don't move. Don't breathe loudly. Wait until it stops. Rule number 3, if you see the tall one, don't acknowledge it. Don't speak. Don't blink until it's gone. My first night was uneventful. Static screens. An empty warehouse with dusty corridors. But as the clock neared 2 a.m., the air felt heavy, like something invisible was pushing down on my chest. At exactly 2:13 a.m., I heard it, soft scratching sounds, like long nails dragging across metal. The screen for hallway 4 flickered, and for a split second, I saw it. The thing was taller than any human, its legs bending the wrong way, its arms scraping against the walls. Its head twisted toward the camera, and 2 red eyes glowed, flickering like dying embers. I remembered rule number 1. I turned away, forcing myself to stare at the floor, whispering to myself to breathe slowly, to not look back, to not break the rule. The scratching grew louder, closer, and I could hear it breathing through the monitor, each inhale a wet, rattling sound. Then it stopped. The silence was worse. I slowly lifted my eyes back to the monitor. Hallway 4 was empty again, just a dark corridor with peeling paint and flickering lights. But in the reflection on the black screen, I saw it standing behind me. Its legs were impossibly thin, stretching toward the ceiling, its arms hanging like ropes, fingers scraping the floor. Its head was inches from mine, red eyes burning holes into the back of my neck. I remembered rule number 3. I didn't speak. I didn't blink. I didn't move. I don't know how long I stood there, staring into the black reflection of the monitor while it stood behind me, breathing, its spidery fingers clicking softly on the concrete floor. My eyes burned from the dryness, but I knew if I blinked, it would notice. If it noticed, the rules would no longer matter. A cold breeze moved past my neck, like something inhaling deeply right behind me. The red glow of its eyes in the reflection pulsed once, twice, like the slow beat of a dying heart. Then the lights in the security room flickered, humming softly, and the reflection was gone. But the air was still cold. I gasped, finally letting my eyes close, tears streaming down my face from the strain. My knees were shaking, and I nearly collapsed into the chair, eyes darting around the small room, searching for it. All I could hear was the buzzing of the monitors and the pounding of my own heartbeat. I glanced at the clock. 2:29 a.m. The silence was suffocating. I checked the monitors, forcing myself to watch each hallway feed. Everything was empty, just as it had been before. But in hallway 2, the camera shook, like something heavy had walked past. The lights in the hallway dimmed, shadows stretching along the cracked tiles. Then, the knocking started. A slow, deliberate knock, coming from the north exit door, 3 times in a rhythm that felt wrong, like a code I couldn't understand. Knock. 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 I froze, remembering rule number 2. Don't move. Don't breathe loudly. Wait until it stops. I pressed my hands over my mouth, forcing the air to slip slowly between my fingers. The knocking continued, each knock vibrating through the thin walls, rattling the metal shelf behind me. I don't know how long I sat there, eyes wide, every muscle in my body screaming to run. But the knocking finally stopped. I waited, counting in my head. 1 minute. 2. 3. Then the radio on the desk crackled to life, the static almost deafening in the silence. Security to the north exit. Now. The voice was distorted, low, like someone speaking from the bottom of a well. I reached for the radio, but then I remembered, there was no one else here tonight. No one else was scheduled to work. And rule number 4, the one I had almost forgotten, echoed in my mind. Rule number 4, if you hear your name over the radio, do not respond. It is not for you. The radio crackled again, louder this time, the static pulsing like a heartbeat. Ethan, to the north exit. Now. It said my name. The radio hissed, my name twisting in the static like a snake slithering across broken glass. Ethan, come to the door. I backed away, shaking my head, clutching the edges of the desk so hard my knuckles turned white. My breath was loud, too loud, and I pressed a hand over my mouth again, trying to muffle the ragged gasps tearing from my throat. The voice changed, deepening, cracking like old wood. Ethan. Something heavy slammed against the north exit door, rattling it in its frame. I saw it on the monitor, something tall, hunched, its elongated fingers scratching at the metal, leaving streaks like black oil. The camera flickered, distorting the figure, stretching it, making its limbs look impossibly long, its head tilting at an unnatural angle as it pressed one blood-red eye against the glass. I wanted to look away. I couldn't. The eye on the camera blinked, and I felt it blink inside my mind. A cold voice whispered behind me, so close that I could feel the moisture of its breath against my ear. You're not following the rules. I spun around, but there was nothing there. Only the empty room, the hum of the monitors, and the crackle of the radio now repeating, over and over. Ethan. Come. Ethan. Come. Ethan. Each repetition grew softer, but the pounding on the door grew louder, the hinges screaming with each impact. The lights flickered, and I saw it again in the reflection on the dark monitor, its legs spider-like, its arms scraping the floor, its head lolling from side to side as it moved closer, closer, until it was standing inches from the back of my chair. I closed my eyes, whispering the rules to myself. Rule number 1, never look directly at the camera in hallway 4 after 2:13 a.m. Rule number 2, if you hear knocking. The pounding stopped. The radio cut to silence. I opened my eyes. The monitor for hallway 4 came alive again, the camera slowly panning on its own, even though it wasn't a movable camera. It turned to face the black hallway, the darkness so thick it looked like a solid wall. A shape moved within it. Long legs. Dragging arms. Glowing eyes. It stepped out of the darkness, closer to the camera, closer, until it filled the screen, its eyes burning like coals. I felt its gaze on me, even though I wasn't looking directly into the camera. The air grew colder, my breath turning to mist in the security room. Then, it spoke, its voice layered, like 100 whispers tangled together. Ethan, you broke the rules. Ethan, you broke the rules. Its voice vibrated inside my skull, shaking something loose, like cold fingers rummaging through my thoughts. I clamped my hands over my ears, but it didn't stop the voice. It felt like it was inside me now, clawing at the walls of my mind. On the monitor, its eyes grew brighter, twin suns in a sea of black, and I could see its mouth open, jagged black teeth glistening with something wet and dark. I wanted to scream. But the rules. The rule said nothing about screaming. The radio hissed again, crackling to life, but this time, it wasn't calling my name. Instead, it repeated a single sentence, over and over, in that same layered whisper. Open the door. I shook my head violently, backing into the corner of the room, my eyes flicking between the monitors, looking for any sign that this was over, that it had gone, that I was safe. But it was everywhere now. Every monitor showed a different angle of the creature, each one worse than the last. One showed it crawling on the ceiling of hallway 2, its limbs bending backward like a spider's. Another showed it standing at the end of hallway 3, its head tilted as it stared at the camera, unmoving. Another showed its fingers dragging across the concrete floor, leaving black streaks that seemed to smoke and hiss. The worst was the monitor for the north exit door. It was standing there, its face pressed against the glass, mouth moving silently as the radio repeated. "Open the door." Then it stopped. Everything went silent. All the monitors went black, and for a single, perfect moment, there was peace. No static, no knocking, no whispers. Until the emergency lights came on, bathing the room in pulsing red light. The monitors flickered back to life, showing a single feed on every screen. The security room. Me. And behind me, the creature. It was so close that I could see the tips of its fingers hovering inches from my neck, the red glow of its eyes illuminating the tears streaking down my face. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. The radio crackled one final time, the voice low, patient, hungry. "You're going to open the door now, Ethan." And I did. I don't remember walking to the north exit, but suddenly I was there, my hand on the cold metal handle. I felt it breathing on the other side, felt the hunger radiating through the metal, into my bones. The rules screamed in my mind, but they were too late. I opened the door. The cold air that rushed in was not the air of the night outside, it was thick, heavy, like stepping into water, pressing against my skin with the chill of 1,000 winters. I tried to step back, to slam the door shut, but it was too late. It stepped inside. The creature's head scraped the ceiling as it entered, folding its spidery limbs to fit into the narrow hallway. Its eyes glowed brighter now, casting red shadows across the walls, and every step it took sounded like bones breaking under its weight. I stumbled backward, tripping over a fallen chair, landing hard on the concrete floor. My breath came in ragged gasps, each exhale a cloud in the freezing air. It moved closer, its arms hanging like ropes, its fingers dragging along the floor, leaving trails of dark, smoking liquid that hissed and sizzled on contact. It tilted its head, studying me with those unblinking, burning eyes. Then it spoke again. "You broke the rules, Ethan." The voice was everywhere, in the room, in my head, inside my bones. I tried to crawl backward, but the creature reached down, its long fingers curling around my ankle, cold as ice, pulling me toward it. I screamed. The creature's face lowered toward mine, and I could see it clearly now. Its skin was like wet leather stretched too tightly over bones that didn't belong to any creature on earth, its mouth a jagged line that opened slowly, revealing rows of glistening black teeth. From deep within that mouth, a black smoke poured out, swirling around my face, filling my nostrils with the scent of rotting leaves and burned hair. "You opened the door, Ethan. Now you belong to us." I tried to fight, kicking and clawing at the concrete, but it lifted me effortlessly, pulling me closer, until its eyes were all I could see, red and endless, pulling me deeper into that glow. Then, everything went black. I don't know how long I was out, but when I opened my eyes, I was back in the security room. The monitors were off, the lights were dead, and the only sound was the slow drip of water somewhere in the darkness. I tried to stand, but pain shot through my body, and I collapsed back onto the cold floor. My hands were covered in that black liquid, and it burned wherever it touched. Then, the monitors flickered back to life. Each one showed a different hallway, empty and silent. But in the center monitor, the feed showed me. Sitting on the floor, in the dark. And behind me, in the shadows, those red eyes opened again. The cold air that rushed in was not the air of the night outside, it was thick, heavy, like stepping into water, pressing against my skin with the chill of 1,000 winters. I tried to step back, to slam the door shut, but it was too late. It stepped inside. The creature's head scraped the ceiling as it entered, folding its spidery limbs to fit into the narrow hallway. Its eyes glowed brighter now, casting red shadows across the walls, and every step it took sounded like bones breaking under its weight. I stumbled backward, tripping over a fallen chair, landing hard on the concrete floor. My breath came in ragged gasps, each exhale a cloud in the freezing air. It moved closer, its arms hanging like ropes, its fingers dragging along the floor, leaving trails of dark, smoking liquid that hissed and sizzled on contact. It tilted its head, studying me with those unblinking, burning eyes. Then it spoke again. "You broke the rules, Ethan." The voice was everywhere, in the room, in my head, inside my bones. I tried to crawl backward, but the creature reached down, its long fingers curling around my ankle, cold as ice, pulling me toward it. I screamed. The creature's face lowered toward mine, and I could see it clearly now. Its skin was like wet leather stretched too tightly over bones that didn't belong to any creature on earth, its mouth a jagged line that opened slowly, revealing rows of glistening black teeth. From deep within that mouth, a black smoke poured out, swirling around my face, filling my nostrils with the scent of rotting leaves and burned hair. "You opened the door, Ethan. Now you belong to us." I tried to fight, kicking and clawing at the concrete, but it lifted me effortlessly, pulling me closer, until its eyes were all I could see, red and endless, pulling me deeper into that glow. Then, everything went black. I don't know how long I was out, but when I opened my eyes, I was back in the security room. The monitors were off, the lights were dead, and the only sound was the slow drip of water somewhere in the darkness. I tried to stand, but pain shot through my body, and I collapsed back onto the cold floor. My hands were covered in that black liquid, and it burned wherever it touched. Then, the monitors flickered back to life. Each one showed a different hallway, empty and silent. But in the center monitor, the feed showed me sitting on the floor, in the dark. And behind me, in the shadows, those red eyes opened again. "Welcome home, Ethan." Its voice was a storm inside my head, rumbling with 1,000 whispers layered on top of each other. I couldn't breathe. The black smoke pouring from its mouth wrapped around my face, forcing its way into my nose, my mouth, down my throat. It was cold, and yet it burned, like swallowing shards of ice and glass at the same time. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The creature's eyes never blinked as it watched me struggle, its head tilting slowly, studying every twitch, every failed gasp for air. My vision blurred, darkening at the edges, and in those final moments before I passed out, I saw the monitors flicker to life once more. They showed the hallways, empty. They showed the outside, the dark forest, still and silent. And then they showed the room I was in. But I wasn't there anymore. The creature was alone, standing in the center of the room, looking directly into the camera, its red eyes flickering like dying stars. And it smiled. When I woke up, I was on the floor of the security room. The monitors were dark, the lights were off, and the air was warm again. My throat felt raw, like I had been screaming for hours, and my body ached with a pain so deep it felt like it was in my bones. I slowly pushed myself up, every movement sending waves of pain through my body. My hands were shaking, covered in black stains that wouldn't wipe away no matter how hard I tried. Then I noticed something. The rules. The paper that had been taped to the desk was gone. In its place was a new paper, the edges burnt, the words written in a dark, sticky substance that smelled like rust and decay. It only had one rule. Rule number 1, do as it says. I stumbled back, knocking over the chair again, my eyes darting around the room. The radio was silent now, but I could feel it, the creature, watching me, waiting for me to look at the monitors again. I didn't want to. But I did. The monitors flickered, showing the hallways, and for a moment, everything looked normal. Empty. Silent. Then, in hallway 4, it stepped into view. Slowly. Deliberately. Its head turned toward the camera, and it raised one long, bony finger to where its lips would be, if it had any. And it whispered, so softly that I could almost convince myself I hadn't heard it. Zhidich. Zhidich. That single whisper filled the room, echoing off the concrete walls like a scream in reverse, forcing every hair on my body to stand on end. I backed away from the monitors, but the creature's eyes on the screen followed me, turning slightly as I moved, never blinking, never looking away. I felt it again, the cold, like the air itself was afraid. Then the lights flickered, and for a moment, everything was dark. When the lights came back, the creature was no longer on the monitors. It was standing in the doorway. Its head tilted, eyes burning, arms hanging like wet ropes, its claws twitching as if impatient. It didn't move, but I could feel it drawing closer, as if the shadows themselves were pushing it toward me. The silence was unbearable. What do you want? I managed to whisper, my voice cracking, dry from fear and smoke. It didn't answer. Instead, it raised its hand slowly, impossibly slowly, and pointed one long, blackened finger at me, then at the door behind it. Go. Its voice was the sound of wind through dead trees, soft, dry, carrying the scent of old graves. I shook my head, stumbling back, nearly tripping over the cables on the floor. The creature took one step forward, the lights above us flickering violently with the motion, the floor creaking under its weight. Go, it repeated, louder now, shaking the walls, dust falling from the ceiling. It stepped aside, revealing the dark hallway behind it, the same hallway I had seen on the monitors so many times before. The lights flickered down the hallway, one by one, creating a path into the darkness. I didn't want to move. But the rules had changed. Do as it says. I took a step forward, my legs weak, barely able to hold me up. The creature didn't move, but its eyes followed me, watching, waiting. I stepped past it into the hallway, the cold following me like a shadow, the lights flickering as I walked under them. Behind me, I heard the creature's voice one last time, soft, almost gentle. Welcome home, Ethan. The hallway stretched on forever, the lights above me leading me deeper into the dark, the walls closing in around me as the cold grew stronger. I could hear whispers in the darkness, voices calling my name, telling me to turn back, telling me to run. But I couldn't. I had to do as it said. Because now, there were no rules left to protect me. The hallway seemed endless. Each step I took echoed in the darkness, the cold pressing closer with every flickering light above me. My breath came in clouds, each exhale hanging in the air before disappearing into the shadows. Somewhere far behind me, I could still feel its eyes watching. At first, there was silence. Then, the whispers began. Soft at first, like the rustling of dead leaves across concrete. Ethan. My name, over and over, layered in voices that sounded like my own, like my mother's, like people I didn't know. The whispers came from everywhere and nowhere, bouncing off the narrow walls, filling my ears until it felt like they were inside my head. I tried to cover my ears, but the voices only grew louder. Ethan, come back. I kept walking. The lights above me began to die, one by one, as if something behind me was swallowing them. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Do as it says. Ahead, the hallway opened into a large, dark room I had never seen on the monitors. The air was thicker here, colder, every breath scraping down my throat like ice. The darkness was so complete it felt alive, pulsing, waiting. In the center of the room stood an old wooden chair, its surface stained dark, deep grooves scratched into the arms as if someone had clung to it until their fingers bled. As I stepped closer, the whispers stopped. Silence returned, heavy and final. Then, in that silence, I heard it. A slow, dragging step from the darkness behind me. I froze, my eyes locked on the chair, too afraid to turn around. The air grew colder, so cold it felt like it was burning my skin, frost forming along the edges of my sleeves. Then, its voice, soft and patient. Sit. I shook my head, tears freezing as they slid down my cheeks. My legs trembled, refusing to move. The voice came again, deeper now, resonating through the floor and into my bones. Sit. My body moved on its own, stepping forward, lowering itself into the chair. The wood creaked under my weight, cold seeping up through the seat into my spine. The darkness in front of me shifted, and two red eyes opened, floating in the black. Closer. Closer. Until they were all I could see. "You did well, Ethan," it whispered. "Now, we begin." The hallway seemed endless. Each step I took echoed in the darkness, the cold pressing closer with every flickering light above me. My breath came in clouds, each exhale hanging in the air before disappearing into the shadows. Somewhere far behind me, I could still feel its eyes watching. At first, there was silence. Then, the whispers began. Soft at first, like the rustling of dead leaves across concrete. "Ethan." My name, over and over, layered in voices that sounded like my own, like my mother's, like people I didn't know. The whispers came from everywhere and nowhere, bouncing off the narrow walls, filling my ears until it felt like they were inside my head. I tried to cover my ears, but the voices only grew louder. "Ethan, come back." I kept walking. The lights above me began to die, one by one, as if something behind me was swallowing them. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Do as it says. Ahead, the hallway opened into a large, dark room I had never seen on the monitors. The air was thicker here, colder, every breath scraping down my throat like ice. The darkness was so complete it felt alive, pulsing, waiting. In the center of the room stood an old wooden chair, its surface stained dark, deep grooves scratched into the arms as if someone had clung to it until their fingers bled. As I stepped closer, the whispers stopped. Silence returned, heavy and final. Then, in that silence, I heard it. A slow, dragging step from the darkness behind me. I froze, my eyes locked on the chair, too afraid to turn around. The air grew colder, so cold it felt like it was burning my skin, frost forming along the edges of my sleeves. Then, its voice, soft and patient. "Sit." I shook my head, tears freezing as they slid down my cheeks. My legs trembled, refusing to move. The voice came again, deeper now, resonating through the floor and into my bones. "Sit." My body moved on its own, stepping forward, lowering itself into the chair. The wood creaked under my weight, cold seeping up through the seat into my spine. The darkness in front of me shifted, and two red eyes opened, floating in the black. Closer. Closer. Until they were all I could see. "You did well, Ethan," it whispered. "Now, we begin." Trapped. Just like me. Through its eyes, I saw the corridors shifting, alive, swallowing light and echoing with distant screams. The monitors showed faces, young, old, terrified, all of them forced to watch, to wait, to feel the cold sink into their bones until they broke. And when they broke, the creature fed. I felt its hunger now, a deep, gnawing emptiness that could never be filled, no matter how many souls it devoured. Each face on the monitor flickered as it screamed, their eyes wide, their mouths open in silent terror before the screen went dark, leaving only the reflection of those burning red eyes. My eyes. Because now, I was seeing through them. The darkness around me pulsed, and I felt it dragging me deeper, pulling at what remained of me, tearing away the pieces that still felt human. Memories flickered and died like old film reels, leaving empty spaces where my life used to be. My mother's voice. Gone. My father's laugh. Gone. The warmth of the sun. Gone. All replaced with the cold, endless darkness, the flicker of the monitors, the whispers in the halls. And the hunger. Always the hunger. The creature, no, I, turned, moving through the corridors on impossibly long limbs, each step echoing like thunder in the silence. I could feel the walls trembling around me, the shadows pulling back as I passed, as if afraid to touch me. Ahead, I saw a door. The north exit. Someone was there. A new guard, young, clutching a flashlight, eyes wide with fear as he backed away, whispering the rules to himself. I moved closer, my fingers scraping across the floor, the darkness following me like a tide. The boy turned and ran, but the hallway twisted, bending, bringing him back to the door, to me. I could smell his fear, taste it in the cold air. And the hunger grew stronger. I reached for him, my shadow falling over him, blocking out the last flicker of light. As I touched his shoulder, he froze, unable to scream, unable to move, just like I had been. His eyes met mine, and in that moment, I saw myself reflected there, tired, empty, lost. And I wanted to tell him to run. But I couldn't. Because now, I was part of the cycle. And the cycle never ends. The cycle never ends. As I held the boy's shoulder, frozen in fear, I felt the cold pass from me into him, saw the light fade from his eyes as the shadows swallowed him whole. He trembled once, twice, and then went still, his breath fogging in the cold air before disappearing. I stepped back, letting him drop to the floor, his eyes staring blankly at the ceiling, the rules he had whispered still echoing in the hallway, already meaningless. The monitors flickered to life around us, showing the corridors, the rooms, the doors. Watching. Always watching. I felt the hunger ease, just for a moment, as the darkness settled around us, the cold receding slightly. But deep inside, the emptiness remained, waiting, reminding me that it would never truly be satisfied. I turned, moving back through the corridors, each step echoing, each flicker of the lights casting long shadows that crawled along the walls. The whispers returned, soft at first, then louder, calling out names I didn't know, names I had never heard, but somehow felt deep in my bones. Ethan. My name. But it wasn't a call for help. It was a reminder. A reminder of who I had been. A reminder of who I could never be again. I passed the security room, the monitors showing my reflection, the burning red eyes, the long limbs, the darkness that clung to me like a second skin. I reached out, touching the screen, watching as the reflection mimicked me perfectly, a mockery of the man I used to be. The radio on the desk crackled to life, the static sharp in the silence. Help. A small, broken voice, barely audible. Please, help. I leaned closer, listening, feeling the hunger stir again, the cold seeping back into the room. Please, anyone. I closed my eyes, remembering the night I first heard the voice on the radio, the night I had ignored the rules, the night I opened the door. And I understood. There would always be another. Another to take my place. Another to feed the cycle. Another to become like me. I opened my eyes, staring into the red reflection on the monitor, the whispers growing louder, the darkness pressing closer. And I waited. Because the cycle never ends. And I was hungry. I was hungry. The monitors shifted, flickering images of dark corridors and empty rooms, each one humming with the promise of footsteps, of breath, of fear. It was all I could sense now, this endless hunt for warmth in the cold, endless dark. Footsteps echoed. New footsteps. A door creaked open somewhere deep in the building, and the lights in that hallway flickered, illuminating a figure stepping cautiously inside. Another guard, clipboard in hand, flashlight trembling as he scanned the darkness, whispering the rules under his breath like a prayer he was trying to believe. Rule number 1. Rule number 2. Rule number 3. The words were empty now. The darkness was deeper than rules. I moved through the corridor, the air freezing as I passed, lights dying above me, each step pulling shadows like smoke along the floor. I could taste his fear, bitter and electric, filling the stale air of the hallway with the scent of adrenaline. He froze, turning slowly, his flashlight beam sweeping across the darkness, stopping when it hit my legs, slowly traveling upward, shaking violently as the light revealed the impossible angles of my limbs, the blackness of my skin, the burning red of my eyes. His mouth opened, a scream caught in his throat. I stepped closer, and the beam of light flickered and died. darkness swallowed us both. I leaned forward, close enough to see the tears forming in his eyes, the reflection of my red glow dancing in them. "Please," he whispered. For a moment, something stirred inside me, something that remembered what it was like to beg, to feel the frost bite the skin, to pray that someone would save you. But the hunger was stronger. I reached out, one long finger pressing against his chest, feeling the heat of his body, the thrum of his terrified heartbeat. The darkness wrapped around him, seeping into his skin, pulling him closer. His eyes rolled back, his body falling limp as the cold overtook him, his last breath a fog in the darkness. The hunger eased. For now. The lights flickered back on, revealing the empty hallway, the guard's body gone, the darkness swallowing the last trace of him. The monitors in the security room crackled to life, each one showing a new angle of the building, quiet, waiting. Until it wasn't. The north exit camera flickered, showing a door creaking open, moonlight spilling across the floor as another figure stepped inside. Another one. Another shift. The cycle continues. And I am waiting. Another shift. Another heartbeat to chase in the darkness. The door closed behind the new guard with a dull thud, the sound echoing down the empty corridors like a warning that no one would hear. He was young, even younger than the last, his eyes darting nervously as he read the paper in his hand, the rules that had once made me feel safe. The rules that meant nothing now. The cold crept along the floor, curling around his shoes, unnoticed as he scanned the hallway with a cheap flashlight. The beam danced across peeling paint, water stains, and the lingering darkness that clung to the corners, alive and watching. I moved silently, the lights above me dying one by one as I passed, the darkness spreading like a stain, swallowing the hallway as I approached. The hunger was there, gnawing at the edges of my mind, whispering promises of warmth, of satisfaction, if I would just reach out and take it. He froze as the last light above him flickered, the darkness pressing close until only the beam of his flashlight remained, a trembling circle of weak light that could not push back the shadows. He lifted the radio, his voice shaking. "Control, is anyone there?" Static. I remembered that fear. The cold. The rules slipping from your mind as the darkness closes in. I moved closer, the floor creaking under the impossible weight of the shadows that followed me. The red glow of my eyes reflected in the metal of the lockers as I passed, twin points of burning light moving silently through the black. His breath came in quick, shallow gasps, misting in the cold air. He turned, the flashlight sweeping wildly until it landed on my legs, moving up, until it met my eyes. And he screamed. It was a thin, sharp sound, tearing through the silence before falling into nothing, swallowed by the darkness that pulsed around us. I reached out. The flashlight clattered to the floor, rolling away as he stumbled back, tripping over his own feet, landing hard on the cold concrete. His eyes never left mine, wide and wet with terror, lips moving as he tried to remember the rules, whispering them to himself like a prayer. Rule #1. Rule #2. Rule. I pressed a single finger to his lips. The cold flowed from me into him, the shadows wrapping around his body, pulling him down, until the light in his eyes flickered and died. I stood, the darkness retreating as the lights above flickered back on, leaving me alone in the hallway. Waiting. The monitors in the security room came alive again, showing the empty corridors, the silent rooms, the doors that would soon open once more. Because they always open. They have to. Because I am hungry. And the cycle never ends. I am hungry. The hunger is the only thing that feels real now, deeper than thought, deeper than memory. It whispers to me when the halls are empty, when the lights flicker, when the cold settles in and the silence becomes a living thing. It tells me they will come. They always come. And I will wait. The monitors hum softly in the darkness, their glow weak, showing the empty corridors and rooms like the eye of something that never sleeps. Each camera flickers, scanning for the next face, the next heartbeat to chase, the next fear to taste. A door creaks. The north exit. The camera there flickers as the door opens, the moonlight spilling in, revealing the next one. Another guard, another shift, another fool clutching a flashlight and a crumpled piece of paper, his eyes darting around as he tries to steady his breathing, whispering the rules like a mantra. The rules don't matter. Not anymore. I move through the halls, the lights dying above me as I pass, the cold spreading along the floor like black water. The darkness clings to me, follows me, pulling at the edges of reality, twisting the corridors, making the building feel alive, hungry, like me. He hears the creaking floorboards behind him. He turns. His flashlight shakes in his hand, the beam trembling as it lands on me, freezing as it climbs my body, landing on the burning red of my eyes. He can't move. I can smell his fear, sharp, electric, hot against the cold that seeps into him with every breath. His lips move, but no sound comes out, his voice caught in his throat as the rules slip from his mind, replaced by the raw, animal terror that fills his eyes. I step closer. The flashlight dies. Darkness. Silence. I reach for him, my fingers brushing against his skin, and the shadows surge forward, wrapping around him, pulling him into the dark. He gasps once, a short, sharp sound that is cut off as the cold takes him, his body going limp, his eyes wide, staring into mine as the last light fades from them. The hunger eases. For a moment. I let him drop to the floor, the darkness receding, the lights flickering back on as the hallway returns to silence, the only sound the soft hum of the monitors coming back to life. They show the empty halls. Waiting. Always waiting. Because the cycle never ends. And I am hungry.